Okay, good evening, everybody. Today's topic of discussion is about Chaturthamsa. Most of the astrologers they do not analyze various divisional charts and they just analyze Rashi and Navamsa, which is not the right way because Rashi is global. Rashi is everything. In a one house of Rashi, you can analyze many things. But what about the finest part of the life? How do you analyze that? For that, we need to have divisional charts. Okay. Rashi is like a root, whereas the divisional charts are the fruits of that root. If the root is very good, the fruit will also be very good. Okay. There are various divisional charts, out of which I'm going to discuss about Chaturthamsa. Chaturthamsa is also termed as D4. Okay. Chatur means four, Amsha means divisional chart. Just like Navamsha. Navamsha means nine. Amsha means it is a divisional chart. So it's Navamsha. So Chaturthamsa is all about the fourth house. What is fourth house? Fourth house is all about properties. It is all about land. It is about house. It is about vehicles. We know that each Rashi is divided into 30 degrees. So we have 12 Rashis in 30, that is 360 degrees, which is circumferences of the earth. And in order to create a D4 chart, we need to divide this 30 degrees by 4. Chatur, 4. Chaturthamsa. By 4 we have to divide. So when we divide 30 degrees by 4, we get 7.5 degrees. This 7.5 degrees we have to divide it into among the 30 degrees. Okay. So when we add 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, we will arrive at 30 degrees. So 0 to 7.5 is 1 Chaturthamsa, 7.5 to 15, 15 to 22.5, and 22.5 to 30 degrees. That is how we arrive at the 30 degrees of the Rashi Chakra. Right? Now, taking the Rashi as a base, we have to create a Chaturthamsa Chakra D4 divisional chart. Here I am giving an example. Here I have already copied the degrees of all the 9 planets, which you can see here. Okay, and also I have copied 2 charts. One is Rashi Chakra and one is D4. Here we will try to put the Lagna of the Rashi Chakra into the D4 chart. That is how we have to prepare it. So as I said earlier, 30 degrees, when we divide it by 4, we get 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, ultimately coming to 30 degrees. So let us say the Lagna of the Rashi Chakra is in 13th degree in the Leo sign. Here is the Leo sign, okay? This is your Leo sign, right? This is the Leo sign. So the Lagna of the Rashi Chakra is in the 13th degree. So 0 to 7.5 is one part of the Chaturthamsa. 7.5 is a 7.5 to 15 is the second part of the Chaturthamsa. The 13 degree is falling in between the second part. Okay. So what does it say? If the Lagna of the Rashi Chakra is falling in the 13th degree, leave the sign, take only the degrees. And if it is falling between the 7.5 to 15, which is the second part of the Chaturthamsa degree, then we have to place this Lagna in the fourth house, right? How do you know which fourth house? It says that you have to take the lagna. You have to take the lagna and count four signs forward to arrive at the D4 lagna. So four signs from the Rashi comes to Vrishchika. So that means ultimately the lagna of the Rashi chakra falls into the Vrishchika Rashi of the D4. Let us take Venus, okay, which is there in the lagna of the Rashi chakra. It is 4 degree. So where it is falling? It is falling in the first part of the D4, that is 0 to 7.5. So when it is falling into the D4 into 7.5, we have to consider the the planet. Because it is falling into the first part, we have to place the same planet which is falling the first part in the same sign. Okay, so here Venus is coming into the first part because it is 0 to 7 point is falling between 0 to 7.5, right? Let us take another one. Let us take moon into account. How much is moon degree? It is 1 degree. So where it is falling in the first part. And in the Rashi Chakra also it is in Gemini. So ultimately in the D4 chart also it has to fall in the Gemini sign. Okay? That is how we have to see. Let us say let us say we will take Sun. Okay? Sun is falling in 20 degree. So 0 to 7.5 is 1, 7.5 to 15 is 1, 15 to 22 is the third part. Here the sun is falling in the 30 degree in Gemini. So when it falls into the 30 degree into the Gemini, where it has to be placed, it has to be placed in the seventh house because 15 to 22 is seventh house. So see where the sun is placed in the Rashi Chakra. From there, you count the seventh house 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So ultimately, the sun will go and sit in the Sagittarius of the D4 chakra, right? So it is coming here. You see here it is 7. In the same way, you have to apply for other planets also. Okay? How do we analyze this chart? The process is totally different. You cannot take the same way you analyze the D1 chart and use the same principles. You cannot use the same principles when applying or analyzing the D4 chart. The fourth lord of the Rashi chakra is called as Karyesha. Okay? And we have to see the placement of the lord, the fourth lord in the D4 chart. If the fourth lord is exalted in the D4 chart, that means all the significance of the properties, homes, and everything will be good for you. If it is weak, then it is bad for you in that area. That is, what is that area? Home, vehicles, lands, properties. Okay. If suppose in the D4 the fourth lord is exalted, then the Rashi chakra will take over. It will become the ultimate controller. You understood? Where if there is any planets in the fourth house of the D4 chart, okay, and it is placed in the D4 chart, any malefic like Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, they are falling in the D4 chart. These are all the malefics in the D4. These are all malefics, and if are placed in the fourth of the D4 chart, then that particular area will not be considered good for the native. Okay. Now, how do we analyze this? The Lagna of the Rashi Chakra talks about us, we, I, myself, my height, my attitude towards my life, how healthy I am. All these things are connected to the Rashi Chakra. But the same Lagna, if it is going and sitting in the D4 Chakra, then the total aspect of your life will just revolve around the properties. What is your attitude towards the properties? Okay. In the same way, the second house of the Rashi Chakra talks about your eyes, it talks about your food, it talks about your wealth, it talks about your extended family, it is also the Maraka, and it is also an Ardha Trikona. Okay, because second house is all about finances. But what about the same second house of the D4 chart? It all talks about how you are earning money from the properties. What about the third house? Third house is all about your younger siblings. It talks about your courage. It talks about your short travels. It, it talks about your fightings. It talks about your communications. It talks about your short travels also. But the same thing when it comes to your D4 chakra, it will tell you with whom you are fighting to acquire the property or to make your property your own. You understood? What about fourth house of the Rashi Chakra? Fourth of the Rashi Chakra talks about your primary education. It talks about your home. It talks about your mother. It talks about your let us say it talks about your um, uh, how happy you are with your mother and all these things. What about the same thing in the D4 chart? It talks about how you are acquiring the property. Okay. Fifth house of the Rashi Chakra talks about mantras. It talks about your Pura Punya. It talks about your recognition in your career. It talks about your children. Okay, all these things. But what about in the D4 chakra? It talks about maintaining the property. Okay, how we are going about in maintaining your property. All these things you have to see. What about the sixth house of the Rashi? The sixth house of the Rashi chakra. It is short-term diseases. It is about your resources. It is about your sins, shatripus. It is about your enemies. All these things will come into picture. But what about it? Same in the D4. It talks about who are your enemies who are trying to control your property or snatching away your property. Okay. In the same way, you can take about the seventh house, eighth house, ninth house, 10th house, and 12th house. Okay. So everything I've written it here. So, for example, let us take an example here. Okay. So, Lagna, which is placed in the Vrishchika Rashi in the D4 chart, we have to see the Lagnesha also. Who's the Lagnesha? It is the third house, which is there. That one Lagnesha is Ketu, other Lagnesha is Mars. And at the top of it, Rahu is also aspecting it, Saturn is also aspecting, and this Lagna is hemmed between two malefics. So the native is not interested in property. Okay? Native is not interested in the property. What about the second house? The 10th lord of the karma is going and sitting in the second house, right? What is 10th house? 10th house is all about properties, office properties. So that means when the 10th lord goes and sits in the second house, the native will earn from the office work, whatever the office work or whatever work he's doing from the office, from the home, he will earn money from there. Okay. And what about the fifth house? Fifth house is about what? What did I say about the fifth house? What did I say about the fifth house? You see here, fifth house is about maintaining the property. Where is the fifth lord going? It is going and sitting in the 12th house. So, in order to maintain the property, the native has to spend some amount of money because 12th house is all about losses. It's all about spending of the money. And what about the 8th house? The ninth lord is going and sitting in the ninth lord of investment is going and sitting in the 8th house. Native cannot use his own money for the investment. He has to depend on somebody else. And also, it is an inheritance. Any planet placed in the eighth house of the D4 chakra, it always talks about the inheritance. 120% you will get inherited. The property of your parents will come to you. Okay? And what about the fourth house? There is no planet in the fourth house, but where is the fourth lord? It is going and sitting in the 11th house. What did I say about the 11th house? 11th house is all about money, what you receive from the property, right? 11th house is gains and longevity. Why it is longevity? Gains we can understand because 11th house is all about gains. But why longevity? From the 4th house, it is the 8th house. Okay, from the 4th house, it is the 8th house. Depending upon what planet is placed here, you can understand what is the longevity of that house. If the Saturn is there, from the 4th house, Saturn is placed in the 8th house, then we can say that the property is very old. Okay. Now, what about the eighth lord going and sitting in the fifth house? Eighth house is what? Eighth house is all about transformation. Eighth house is all about prarabdha karma. Where it is going and sitting? It's going and sitting in the fifth house and retrograde. Any planet which is debilitated and getting retrograde, it denotes that it is like exaltation. And what it is doing, it is aspecting your 11th house. You see here, by Graha Drishti, it is aspecting your 11th house. That means your 8th Lord, the energy of the 8th Lord is going and sitting in the 5th house. And the 5th house, what did I say about the 5th house? We have to maintain the property in order to get money. Okay. So, because Mercury is aspecting the 11th house. Got it? Mercury is aspecting the 11th house. So that is how we have to see. So you do not use Rashi Chakra to understand the entire aspect of a native life. You have to see the divisional charts also. I will further use more and more of divisional charts and try to make you understand how these charts have to be used. Kindly share and subscribe my channel for further Jyotic videos. Thank you very much.